Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, November 25th. All rise, please, as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. We'll begin tonight with public audience. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Yes.
Joan Cole, 26 Richmond Drive. The next Board of Selectmen will be facing many challenging issues with the budget and many policy issues. The new board should set a permanent policy for the selection of a deputy selectman. We can no longer have a power grab from one party. The selection should reflect what person is the most suitable to assume the role of first selectman if there is a vacancy or illness. This requires availability and knowledge of the management of the town. This year, the town has had many high-level management personnel retiring or leaving the position for other opportunities. First Selectman Mary Glassman has known for several months that these vacancies were forthcoming and did not fill the positions in a timely manner. We are facing a huge vacuum in management that could increase the risk to the town. The Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen has filled the position of Finance Director with an interim employee without the qualifications for the job as noted in the Personnel Subcommittee agenda. Create the temporary part-time position of Engineering Transition Manager and approve the attached job description for the position and approve compensation equivalent to a yearly salary of $90,000 for Sean Kimball during the period of his service as interim finance director. Why compensation for full value for the position when he doesn't have the qualifications for the position? These two positions require specialized qualifications and knowledge of town government. Why weren't these positions filled in a timely manner? This reflects poor management, proving that First Selectman Mary Glassman and her pseudo-town manager are lacking in management skills. A professional town manager would have had these positions filled with the most qualified candidates for these positions. The taxpayers of Simsbury should demand professional management for the town before we have serious management issues placing the town at risk. How can this board allow important positions to go vacant? Shame on your oversight. Recently, the superintendent of schools, Matt Curtis, sent an email to parents and guardians reflecting the boards of education concern about greatly reduced revenues in the future and declining enrollment when developing the budget. He highlighted the Hartford moving from Simsbury, leaving the town with a loss of $44 million in property taxes, and the families that will move elsewhere, leaving a greatly reduced enrollment. The immediate reduction in modular classrooms is just a small Band-Aid approach to reducing the budget. The Board of Education should reduce the financial support of magnet and charter schools with high overhead costs. The schools should be reconfigured into townwide schools with townwide schools to take the place of neighborhood schools, giving more flexibility to enrollment. Having a school with pre-kindergarten through second grade should be reviewed by the administration, gradually leading to closing a school. I am very concerned that the Board of Education has not followed up on the action of the principal of Simsbury High School, Neil Sullivan, during Spirit Week. This is not the first time that Sullivan has shown poor leadership skills. Another incident was his lack of understanding when a past student at the high school suffered over 2 years of bullying that Sullivan was aware of and did nothing to mitigate the situation. Bullying not only affects students, but the families of these students. Students that are bullied have long-term psychological problems. Why wasn't Sullivan dismissed at that time? Now that there is a new administration, this issue should be evaluated since bullying should not be ignored by teachers, coaches, and the administration. One cannot watch TV without some story on consequences of ignoring bullying. How many other students are bullied in Simsbury schools? Important issues should not be swept under the rug. We pay high salaries for professional management. We should expect excellence in leadership. Recently, the Board of Education has approved a 2.25% increase for the administrative staff, along with other perks. Since the cost of living increase in Social Security was 1.5%, why should the administration get this hefty increase? The Board of Finance had a meeting on November 19, 2013 at 6 p.m. with an agenda item, public audience. The nondescript notation was to be used for the public to give input to the board on fiscal year 2014 budget. There were only 3 people giving their opinions pertaining to the budget, since the board did not release any information in a news release. The public was not informed, which led to such poor attendance. The signs on the paddle courts state that anyone using the paddle courts must pay for play. Recently, 2 players on the Simsbury paddle team tried to practice off the regular time. As I was told, John Tebow, recreation supervisor, ran up to the courts and demanded payment for the court, although they only planned to play for a short while. Not only was his conduct threatening, but he told them if they didn't pay, he would place locks on the court. He was also confrontational when questioned about the exorbitant increase in fees for the paddle team reserve time. This year we paid $1,400 for court time. This is very pricey for play. The fee schedule for walk-ons is inconsistent since Simsbury Farms is closed when people can play. Why does the Recreation Department have a catch-you-if-I-can policy for payment? It is inconsistent and should be reviewed. At one time, First Selectman Mary Glassman agreed that the policy should be changed and walk-ons should not pay. Why does the Recreation Department ignore her actions? I would like to report that as a member of Simsbury Farms A paddle team, I won both my matches. The first against Hopbrook Tennis Club and the second against Hartford Golf Club. As of now, I am undefeated. There was a decision on one of the court actions against the defendants at Eno Farms Affordable Housing. This decision would give title to CHFA of all the units in the complex. This is not finished since there is a 30-day appeal process. There is still another lawsuit for the eviction of the people who refused to sign the recertification documents and therefore non-compliant.
If you could summarize.
Until these actions are completed, the complex cannot be sold. I would like to report that an illegal wheelchair ramp at Dave Richmond's property at 730 Hot Meadow Street has not been replaced or removed. How many attorney letters are necessary to get some action? And why is Dave Richmond so special? And I'm going to put all my comments on Simsbury.com forum and Simsbury Patch for your review.
Thank you, and congratulations to you. Yes, sir.
Robert Kalishman, Simsbury. Well, I guess this is a first. Thanks for the privilege of addressing the board. Welcome to the new members. And it's going to be sad to see my friend Maura and the loyal opposition lady. If you don't say you're a lady, she'll be leaving. Joan, this evening's the first time you and I disagree.
Those are the others.
And I'm going to have to differ from you on the deputy selectman and the choices thereof. And I appeal to the elected majority that will sit on the board. The people have spoken. People have said they want change. They've spoken, they voted, they want change. Why is it that every time around this time the signals start? I wasn't coming this evening, but I had a bulletin from the Farmington Valley Press or News that there's going to be the deputy selectman wants to be deputy selectman again. I've gone through this, I think, 3 times that I can recall. Each time at Eno Hall, where the proceedings are not televised, so the constituency and the voters do not see what's going on or how the vote is. And just to take you back, the first time was with Mr. Vincent as first selectman. He wanted to make his choice of the deputy, when the deputy was purely entitled, was the different selection by the voters. The second time around, went here again at Eno Hall in closed proceedings that were not televised, where there was a big discussion with Ms. Wertheimer and as to who was going to be the deputy. And at that time, it was discussion with Mr. Hagney. Then the next time, if my memory calls, Maura again, and this time Maura refused. And now we go into the third time where I think that being that the people have spoken, they have gone for a Republican majority, I think they should have a Republican spokeswoman. And I strongly feel, though it's not personal, that the new deputy should be a Republican. And that the meeting should be televised, which it won't, because here again it's going to be held at Eno, and the proceedings will not be televised. And hopefully it will be reported, but then again, that remains in the air. So, this is what I like. The people, this is what I like, which doesn't mean a thing. What the people want, that should be considered. The people want change. There should be no collusion between both parties as to who becomes the deputy. The deputy should be decided by the 4 Republicans, and the 4 Republicans should vote for a Republican. And I'm certain out of the 4 that you have to choose from, there's capable people. We have a lawyer that's admitted to the Connecticut Bar, that's fully qualified as far as the qualifications go. So, you know, starting to peddle these qualifications, that dog won't hunt. That's what my friends in the South say. That dog won't hunt, and it won't. Well, I've said enough about that. And the next things that the board has to look at, the Republican board, is the PAC, the Performing Arts Center, and the money that's being spent and wasted down there year in and year out. And at the recent Board of Finance meeting, which the only one I saw from this board was the first Selectwoman, it was brought up at that time about the PAC. And the thing is, the PAC is starting, and the subject that came up was the triathlon, I think it is, that they're bringing in under the tutelage of Miss Schofield, where they're going to need a budget. And when the finance director, or the past finance director, I should correct myself, Mr. Nault, had indicated that, is that going to cost the town any money? There were bobbing and weaving from the first Selectwoman in the sense she says, no, they're going to raise their own money. But we all know if we sit on this board, if they come up with a loser, who's going to pay? Who's the backup? The backup is the town. Because if they have expenditure and they don't raise no money and they can't pay for it, who's going to pay for it? Who's liable? If somebody falls in the river and drowns up there, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to be sued? The town. So we're liable. Unless they can come up in their wisdom and show me, and you're a member of the insurance industry, you're an executive, and show me that they have a policy that if anybody falls in the water and drowns up there, and don't say it can't happen, it can. I watch these young men, and I'm proud of them, and the young ladies, I'm proud of them. But it can happen. I watched Weiker's son, like a bull, does anything he wants. So what I'm saying is that if they come up with a policy, fine, but I don't think they will. And what we're going to do is the town is going to be liable, and if they can't pay their bills, you're going to end up paying them. And this was, oh, no, they will and they won't, but nevertheless. And the other thing that I like to discuss this evening, and I spoke to the first Selectwoman about it, and I think you all ought to consider it. In the November 14 proceedings of the Economic Development Commission meeting, the chairman, Mark Deming, the husband to Miss Schofield, stood up. He didn't stand up, but he indicated, and he tried to get other members to attend, the State Department of Economic Development Commission's party at the Bushnell, where they're gathering of all the Economic Development Committee people. It's no secret that Miss Schofield was an ardent supporter of Miss Estes for Congress. And it's no secret that Estes and the Commissioner Estes are man and wife. But the point I'm trying to make out is, why should I, a citizen, pay $95 so he can go to this social at the Bushnell? And don't tell me it's not it's a social, because I'll take you there, and when we go there, you'll see what the refreshments and everything will be. It's going to be a social, and it's going to be a political social. And why the people and myself from Simsbury should pay $95 so he can attend is beyond me, and it shouldn't be, because it's a conflict. Why is it a conflict? Let me tell you why it's a conflict.
If you could summarize, Mr. Joshua. Thank
Number
you.
one, that Economic Development Commission receives state grant money in the form of Main Street, the Main Street Corporation. There's economic money, state economic money, going to Main Street Corporation. The chairman and the members of the Economic Commission have something to say about that money. Secondly, there's state tax dollars going to the Economic Development Commission. And certainly, you have a budget, and you're going to vote on it in the coming months. And that budget, pardon me, in that budget, you're going to allocate funds to the Economic Development Commission. You'll give them money, and then in turn, and I don't agree with that and a few points too, because the money that you give the Economic Development Commission, the most of that money ends up with Main Street Corporation. And the thing that troubles me is, I begged and got on my knees 2 years ago for a flagpole to show the honor of the American flag in front of Eno Hall, because the one that they designed, the design committee, wasn't tall enough. And I begged and begged and begged, and finally they came up with the money to pay Rich Sawitsky and his goodness, and I respect him and I'm going to miss him, and his goodness arranged that that flagpole could be better. So it wasn't Bob Kalishman that got the flagpole to honor the flag. It was Rich Sawitsky. So you want to know why? Those are the three reasons why.
Thank you.
And then when we go back to the last and final thing, I'll be very brief.
Yeah, because it's 20 after. I've only
Sergeant
two.
Del Greco Drive. When I saw the political dance that was done at the last meeting, and it was a political dance, where all these political party leaders got up and named Mr. Gallagher Way, or whatever they named it, and that poor Sergeant Felix De Greco is still has a street up there by the high school. And at that time I was told, oh, the family didn't want it. I found out the family did want it. And I was also duped, because if you go to the Blue Book, you'll see a picture of Sergeant Felix Del Greco. So if the family didn't want to be noticed, why did it appear in there? And I rest my case.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah.
Superna's like 119 East Wetuck Street. This is like sport for me. I just have to do this. So I don't know how many of you guys watch Parks and Recreation, but Leslie Knope is involved in government there. And the other night there was a program on with her, and it said, or she said, that there's no, there's no negative in being the loose cannon. That she gets all this information out and all sorts of stuff. And one of my friends, Kirsten Grable, her daughter Stephanie, always watches it and says, "Look, Leslie Knope is Sue." So I will continue doing my loose cannoning because it's almost been validated now by Leslie Knope. So I just wanted to remind Mary that I have a drainage issue. That maybe if we could have Switzky look at it before he leaves on November 30th. Everybody on our street's worried about the icing. So if we can, try to get that done before that, I would appreciate that. And I wanted to talk from a land use perspective about the fact that I realize the board's going to be changing. And I know there were pieces that were sent out that talked about keeping the character, and they were promoted in the pieces. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with character, and that the character that's been talked about in the pieces is the same character that's been talked about in the town surveys. So I'm sure there'll be a lively debates coming up for the next couple of years, but I hope that we're all on the same page with that. And finally, because Thanksgiving is coming up, I just wanted to take time to tell whoever residents who watch this station that I was very lucky to have some incredibly wonderful doctors helping me with the care of my mom. And if anybody needs really good doctors that are excellent advocates, very proactive, and believe me, I've dealt with ones that aren't, Dr. Friedman at East Granby Family Practice, Dr. Kozak at Cottage Grove Cardiology, and Dr. Polio at Connecticut Gastroenterology, who also lives in town, are just amazing. And I can't thank them enough for everything they did to me. They went above and beyond. They came to my house. They were incredible. So I couldn't have done it without them. And I just want people to know that there are some really good, competent doctors out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. In just 3 days, we'll be sitting down with our families to celebrate Thanksgiving. So I'm going to take this time to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels if you're traveling. We do have a proclamation. I'll ask Shannon if she'd like to read it into the record.
Whereas almost 4 centuries ago, the Pilgrims celebrated a harvest feast in Thanksgiving after suffering through a brutal winter. Since then, in times of war and in times of peace, Americans have gathered with family and friends and given thanks for all of our blessings. And whereas Thanksgiving is also a time to share our blessings with those who are less fortunate. On Thanksgiving, we remember that the true strength of America lies in the hearts and souls of the American people. And whereas in thankfulness and humility we acknowledge our dependence on one greater than ourselves, let our thanksgiving be revealed and let us reach out with care to those in need of food, shelter, and words of hope. By seeking out those who need a lending hand, we touch the lives of our fellow citizens and help make our world a better place. And whereas we also honor and salute the selfless sacrifice of the brave men and women of our armed forces who are defending our lives and liberty at home and abroad with skill, honor, and dedication, and give thanks for the ties of friendship and respect that bind us together. And whereas, let us observe this day with reverence and care. Let us all share the spirit of fellowship and prayer and reinforce the ties of family and community. Express heartfelt thanks for our many blessings and reach out in gratitude and friendship to our brothers and sisters across the land who together comprise our great American family. Now, therefore, let it be known that the town of Simsbury joins with all of its residents to give thanks for all of their blessings. In witness thereof, I place my seal and the great seal of the town of Simsbury, dated the 25th day of November, 2013.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Special thanks to our clergy. In Simsbury, we have a very active and involved clergy, and they held last night a multi-faith community service. It's an annual service, and there were more than 400 people at the service last night, so special thanks to Rabbi Herman, who hosted the event at the Farmington Valley Jewish Congregation. Our next just update is Salvation Army Toy Drop has begun. We are very grateful to the Simsbury Main Street program. They will be hosting and coordinating the toy drive. It'll be held until Monday, December 23rd. The drop-offs are in 4 locations. They are at Town Hall, at Fitzgerald's, Sarah Burns Jewelry Store, and Antonio's Restaurant. A special thanks to all of the sponsors of the toy drive and allowing us to collect toys in those locations. So if you have a new unwrapped toy, please drop it in one of the boxes so it can be put to good use. Received notice from Senator Wickhouse and Representative Hampton. They will be hosting a bridge dedication ceremony on Saturday, December 7th at 2 p.m. in the Sycamore parking area at the Weetog Bridge on Route 10 and 185. The bridge was recently designated the Baton Corregidor Memorial Bridge by the state legislature this past session in honor of those who have served our country. The law has been signed, and the Department of Transportation will install the signs on the bridge. There'll be a brief ceremony, and my understanding is there may be a reception. I don't have a location yet, but I hope everyone will be able to join us at 2 o'clock on December 7th. Our next report is, I don't have an official report today other than to thank our 2 changing board members. I first want to thank Maura for her service to the town of Simsbury. She had the luck to have 2 selectmen to work with, so we just want to thank you very much and wish you good luck in taking care of the town's finances. So, thank you for serving the town of Simsbury, and as we all know, this takes a lot of hard work and takes time away from families and all the other obligations and work that people have, and I certainly appreciate your volunteer efforts, and I'm sure we'll continue to see you serving the town of Simsbury, so congratulations. Traditional, the board members have a choice of gifts. They have instead chosen to donate their gifts to Simsbury Community Television. However, we couldn't let this go without a brief little gift. So we just hope that you'll remember with fondness your service on the Board of Selectmen. We're really proud of all of our volunteers who take their job very seriously, who as I said, take time away from their families, who spend their nights and their weekends during the budget process serving the people of Simsbury. We look forward to having our new board members, and I know we have Cheryl Cook and Mike Payne who are in the audience, so welcome to you as well. And we'll look forward to the swearing in on December 2nd at 6 p.m. and appreciate the voters who did come out to vote in the last election. We'll now move to the action items of the
Mary.
board. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
just, no, and I thank you. I did ask Mary if I could just say a few words, and starting first with Shannon, from the members of the Board of Selectmen on the other side of the aisle, we just wanted to also express our thanks and appreciation for your time and your work on aging and disability and the Women's Forum, and I know a big advocate for autism, and I know you'll continue many of those efforts on and stay involved in the community. Thank you. And to the lady to the left.
Is that political or just
It's all relative.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Mary's comments and what a pleasure it's been to serve with you. Who would have thought 8 years ago we'd be serving here next to each other? So, and we did have a little something ourselves that we brought for you guys, and
That's nice.
I admit I color coded them. It got kind of silly, but I wanted to.
Thank you.
This is out to you guys.
Thank you very
and
much.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Mary, can I say one thing?
Yes, absolutely. Floor is yours.
I just wanted to say thank you to all the current board members and the past board members, to Mary and to all of the town staff for all the hard work that they put in. I would encourage anyone who has a remote interest to take part in the government and to volunteer. And hopefully your experience would be as rewarding and as rich as mine. I have had the tremendous opportunity to serve with fine people and to experience the very highs of getting things done and some lows and some really deep personal relationships and experiences that I would never trade for the world. So thank you.
Sure. Moira kind of said everything I was going to say, except with many, many years behind it. So thank you. Thank you, Moira, for your service as well. It's been a pleasure to serve, so especially with this great group of people and, serving the community that we all love. So I thank you, Mary and Lisa and everybody, Nancy and Moira, Sean, for all that you do and will continue to do. And welcome to the new board in the back. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Good luck to you. Congratulations. Okay, we'll move on to action items. Our first action item is to approve tax refunds. We do have a list of tax refunds totaling $25,314.78. Those have been reviewed and are recommended here tonight by the tax collector, who is also here. Welcome, Colleen. Does anyone have any questions? And none of your names are on here? So
Yep, 8 years I could get my name on here once.
no one is getting any money back, so I think you can all...
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to authorize the first selectman to request an extension for the filing of the fiscal year 13 audit. As you know, our finance director, Marion Harris, has expressed an interest in moving on to other opportunities, and special thanks to Sean Kimball for stepping up. We are in the process of hiring, as the board knows, a new director of finance. We have had 19 applications so far. We had a small number of responses early on, so we have waited till we have a good cross-section for the board to interview and the town to interview. We have been meeting with our auditors, Bloom Shapiro, in order to process our obligations to conduct our audit and working with the Board of Finance. We are concerned that the auditors may not be able to work in time before Marion leaves to make sure that all the filing is done. So this is a pro forma request. We have to request an extension. We may not need it, but I don't think there's another meeting between now and the time that the request is necessary in order for us to do that. We have spoken with our auditors, and they recommend that as they close out Marianne's obligations and we turn over to Sean, there may be additional time that may be needed in order to perform the duties of the town. The towns are encouraged to file for an extension if for some reason we feel we need time, so there's no penalty or no concern of filing the extension, but we think it's in the town's best interest to have that extra time to do the work right, and so we're asking for the extension. Any questions?
I'll move that grant the extension.
Do we have a second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We'll keep the board The next item is approve the purchase of a new dial-a-ride vehicle per the request of the Department of Social Services. And if you recall, we have talked about this. Oh, we don't have it in our file.
Skipped one.
Their banner.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, moving right along.
I like it.
Did you guys like that banner policy? This is a banner policy for a Route 10 banner display. If you recall, we have a real big interest in banners all of a sudden. We started as having a small number of banners on Route 10. Those were managed by the Main Street program. They were donated by the Chamber, the actual displays. They were originally installed to celebrate Simsbury Celebrates, and they were also used for our designation of bike-friendly. Then Main Street was approached by a number of private schools that were celebrating anniversaries, so Main Street allowed them to pay to put up anniversaries. And then the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce had asked to put up banners to promote the town, but they would be a commercial use. So the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce is the first time that the banners were requested for commercial use. So the Chamber will be selling the banners and deriving revenue from those and then displaying some messages. Main Street felt uncomfortable with that commercial use, and so they brought it to the town's attention and said it deviated from what they had been doing. We met with the Chamber of Commerce, who expressed support for the town to have a policy, and we thank them for working with us. We also worked with town staff and Jerry Toner to talk about what the town can accommodate. It's because the use is getting more and more popular, it's costing more and more to put it up and take it down, and there's some concern over different groups wanting to use it at the same time. So I want to thank Jerry Toner and Hiram Peck and staff for working on this suggested banner policy. It has been circulated, as I said, with Main Street and with the Chamber. We're suggesting, as you can see in the proposed draft, that it be used for nonprofit organizations and that it be used for town-sponsored events. So we would only reserve it when the town is involved in an event. So it would be used more for promotional purposes. We did discuss with the Chamber. They had already begun to promote their banners and had already started to sell the banners. So I did recommend to them that I would recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they be grandfathered in because there was no policy in place at the time. They had discussions with town staff and with Main Street. Just a couple other things. The Simsbury Performing Arts Center did go out and buy their own brackets and did start to use the banners this past year for revenue-raising sources. Those were commercial uses as well, but again, those are town-sponsored events. So this policy would recommend that those brackets would continue to be used by the Performing Arts Center, but they would have to be limited to events in the downtown. We also have been approached by the North End Simsbury group of businesses who would like to look at banners down the road, and the South End group of would also like to look at the town improving banners as well. So this is a good thing that's taking on a life of its own. I think the question for the town is, if you have banners more than just the center of town, does that, take away from what you're trying to do? I think the whole point of the Simsbury Main Street banners was that it was designating the main street, so when folks drove into town, they would see that the center was something special, there was something happening. We have the banner now across Route 10 that's used for events. Now we have the banner across Ironhurst Boulevard that's used for events. So we're tending, I think everyone agrees, we're getting a little banner happy. So this is an attempt to control, again, the purpose of the banners, which is to celebrate something that's happening in the town. There's concern if we start to allow commercial use is that we have to go a step beyond, and we have to start regulating content, and we have to start regulating cost, and town staff putting up commercial banners raises other concerns as well. So we thought we'd start really simple, and that is to go back to the original intent of the policy, which was to allow the banners to be used in the center of town, allow them to be used for town-sponsored events, continue to allow the banners across Route 10 on a permit basis. The town would continue to put up and take down the banners with some volunteers as well with the Route 10 banners, and that we thought would go back to the mission. So this is draft is before the board for consideration. Questions?
Just more of a suggestion than anything when it comes to the to be considered, and it mentions grandfathered. It just throw out maybe the thought of having a special exception for future uses as opposed to grandfathering folks in.
This is not a proposal to. And maybe I'll just clarify, because that's a good question. Town staff wasn't recommending we grandfather in those groups, but they were asking the town should have a policy to allow other groups who are not town-sponsored events. So that, you're right, that would have to be a whole separate discussion, because as you'd have to have a commercial, you'd have to have a real definition of what could be put in place, what couldn't. Once you start going down a commercial venue, it's a whole different process.
So then you're just saying we're not considering that tonight. We're considering, because it says to be considered.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Step one is to adopt the basic
Okay.
Vanilla policy, which goes back to the original intent of the banners, which was only town-sponsored events. So the Simsbury Celebrates. Trying to think of what other reasons. The Performing Arts. Veterans Day, town-sponsored events, thank you. And we would leave, if the board's interested in pursuing other uses and other locations, not in the center, then we could have a subcommittee working with the chamber to look into those things. But we really wanted to go back to the intent and the purpose of the banners. And, I think we thought we would have a conversation about what some visual pollution. You can have so much in the center, so many banners, so many things, advertising things that the visual purpose gets lost. So this takes it back to the original policy, the intent, limits it to the center of town, limits the purpose of it, and allows the town to have some control over it. As I said, though, just for the record, the Chamber of Commerce had already felt they had gone way past conversations in their commercial presentation, so if the board does decide to adopt this policy, we would also have to allow the chamber for this winter to put up commercial signs.
And that was my next point of clarification, so that, yes, they've moved forward.
Yes.
And the policy hadn't been adopted yet. So we would approve the policy, we would approve the one-time use.
Yes.
And then that's what I'm saying, if we don't have to get into grandfathered right now, we just get into.
Exactly. The one-time
Future
use, and
uses.
then we could have
Yeah.
conversations
Yeah.
about what the board wants to do going
Yeah,
forward.
I'm good with that.
Other questions?
So who's going to own that process going forward in terms of figuring out the commercial use and the next set of recommendations for us?
So if the board is interested in pursuing that, we would direct town staff to do that. So we
Okay.
would direct town attorney working with Hiram Peck and Jerry Toner.
Okay.
Hiram and Jerry worked on this policy. They felt very comfortable recommending it tonight. They felt very strongly that it should not be used for commercial use. At this point, they felt that this really should be limited. There are a whole lot more questions when you get into commercial use. Who derives the revenue? What are you going to allow? What are you not
Right.
going to allow? Who's going to put it up?
Absolutely.
You know, is the town taxes going to be used to put up commercial signs? That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
So they felt that was not really the purpose of what the intent of the banners were. So it's a two-part, I guess three-part. One is to adopt the basic policy. Two, to grandfather the Chamber of Commerce for this one-time exception to put them up in January 2014. They will meet the time frame of the policy and follow the policy under a number of weeks. And then third, if there's conversations to explore and direct staff further to look at the policy, we could so do that.
Okay. So basically, we're going to give them a one-time exception for everything, or excuse me, for just the provision in terms of intended purpose. We're still going to make them pay the $250. They're still subject to the 8 weeks.
Yeah, they, their time frame is,
Thought they had
has
12.
changed. They wanted 12 weeks originally, then they said 16 weeks, and then, so,
So maybe we should wait on the exception until the next meeting?
well, I think we should, I would say if the board's comfortable with the policy in place, we could adopt the policy tonight. If the board's comfortable that the chamber should have a one-time exception, we should vote on that tonight with the parameters no more than 12 weeks. I think under, there were no, I don't recall tonight what the last proposal was, but I know that town staff had felt uncomfortable with it being more than 12 weeks. And I know
That's
the
all I-
chamber kept going back and
Yeah.
forth and wanted longer, and town staff didn't feel that was appropriate. The payment was added after their request, so that wouldn't apply as well.
So in 12 weeks, so that gets us through, so if it was January 1st, that gets us through to the end of March?
Yeah.
Okay.
My preference is 8 weeks, but again, I can't state tonight that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because we start having events in April and town events and everything else.
Exactly. So if the board is comfortable with some flexibility in the chambers, you could direct staff to work with the Chamber of Commerce for no more than 12, and if our preference is to do it shorter, we could indicate that as well.
Because we can always extend it. Once we give them 12, we can't exactly go backwards,
You
right?
can't. Our preference, as I said, the staff is very comfortable with the 8 weeks. They're
Yep.
very comfortable with the policy. You know, the chamber banners will list sponsors, so there will be advertising on those, which is a deviation from what we had allowed.
Is that
Not
permissible
logos.
under the DOT rules?
They also have to get permission from the DOT, so we directed them to go to the DOT to ensure, I think the size of the sponsors and the commercial
Yeah,
has
that's
changed.
section E.
They didn't approve the first type, but I think they're working, and we'll get approval. But absolutely they have to be approved by DOT.
And I think they just no longer allow logos is the new change to that. So it's the amount of space on the banner
Yeah,
designated.
And DOT doesn't really like, and that's why we
Yeah.
went back to the town sponsor events. DOT doesn't like commercial uses in DOT right away. And the whole purpose of the town-sponsored events is it was promotional rather than commercial.
Yeah. I think last I had heard from the chamber was they were looking at 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I think town staff felt it was that 12
That was
weeks
too long.
Was too long.
Okay.
But again, I don't recall tonight what their exact actual timeframe was. Lisa?
Mary, regardless of whether we have this policy or not, so presume that we don't have the policy, would Chamber have to come to this board for approval? Or could town have just approved it?
Again, the whole purpose was only to use them for town events, so there's no requirement for this board to approve them like the Route 10 banners.
Right.
There's a permitting process, so it wouldn't come to the Board of Selectmen because the board has allowed the commercial use. This is, the commercial use is a change in policy, that's why it's brought here. We haven't allowed it.
But
in the
prior
past.
to that, town could have just approved the use of the
No,
banners? So it would have had to come to us?
Yeah, it would have come to us.
So then Chamber is under there was no misrepresentation or
There was some
missing?
confusion.
There
I
was?
think that
Okay.
when the Chamber of Commerce contacted Main Street, they said they wanted to reserve the banners and talked to Jerry Toner and said the banners were available, but no one had seen the banners and didn't realize it had commercial, that they were commercial banners. The banners had always, like the Chamber is allowing advertising to be paid in order to put the banners up. In the past, the banners were just paid for and put up without any commercial, except for the Performing Arts Board once.
Right, but Main Street was, they charged and took care of,
Well, they paid for the
banners.
banners, they didn't charge. The people who wanted to put them up paid for the banners.
Right, paid for their
Right.
own banners.
Yes.
right, through Main Street. Main Street took care of putting them up, but it didn't have any policy associated
Right.
with
No,
it.
that's
So
right.
yeah.
That's why it's here.
Yep.
And by banners, we are talking the ones across the road and not the ones on the poles down the...
We're talking
on the poles.
Not the one across the road.
Okay, so how then is what the Chamber's doing different than like the Talcott Mountain signs that are up where they have they have all their sponsors?
That's what I said, the Performing Arts Center had been using those.
Okay.
But that's a town-sponsored.
It's actually an event. Versus-
Gotcha.
That was the distinction.
Gotcha.
So this is the first time a non-town-sponsored event. There's no event that the Chamber's going to be advertising.
Right.
So that's the difference. All the others were.
Event-driven.
Event-driven.
And if a not-for-profit puts a request forward, do they have to also be promoting an event, or can any
Under
nonprofit?
this policy, this would have to be a town-sponsored event.
Okay, so you have to be both, nonprofit
Yes.
and
And
a town-sponsored
Exactly.
event. Okay.
So under this scenario, the Performing Arts Board could put up banners because they would be a non-for-profit. They're a town event, but even if they were to become a non-profit foundation, they would still qualify and could still put up banners promoting the Talcott Mountain Music Festival and other events because those are town-sponsored events. It's designed to limit the amount of clutter, and it's also in fairness, we don't really want to allow one group to do it and then say no to another company that comes in.
Right.
So we don't want to say, yes, the Chamber could put up commercial signs, and then if another company in town wanted to put up signs, then we're regulating.
Yeah, and I agree that I don't think we want to get into the business of regulating speech, and I'm also just trying to think through any unintended consequences that,
Yeah.
something that we didn't think of.
Exactly. And if there's some unintended consequences, we'll bring it back to the board.
Yeah, this is not an ordinance, it's just, we can change this whenever we need to,
We
right?
really just need a clarification so that staff, we don't want to waste people's time and money. If they don't qualify, we want to make sure that they know ahead of time. And this was never intended to, the town never intended it to be a fundraising opportunity. It was designed to promote town-sponsored events, and that's what we'd like to get back to.
My suggestion is we do this in two parts, just to keep it clean. But, so I'll make a motion that we approve the Route 10 light post banner display policy as drafted up to Section G. So we're removing the to be considered provision.
I'll second that motion.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Then I make a motion that we allow an exception for the Chamber of Commerce for a period of time not to exceed 12 weeks.
One-time
To amend that
exception.
to a one-time, yeah.
One time. One-time exemption, not to exceed 12 weeks, commencing January 1st.
Perfect.
And I'll second that one as well.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. If the board is interested in pursuing the commercial uses, we'll revisit if issues come up.
I mean, I think if the chamber wants to continue, it sounds like they're probably going to be the primary driver of that, right? They should
Yeah.
probably engage town staff and
Yeah,
make a
we-
recommendation to us.
Staff is, we work very closely with the chamber, and staff's at the table all the time.
Absolutely.
I go to the government affairs meetings,
Yeah.
as Nancy does, and other members do as well. And I guess the chamber's opened up the government affairs meeting to all of us, all the board members, so we can all go regularly if you'd like.
Currently, I was
But I'm
perceived-
sure if they're
Yeah.
interested, we can have it back to be revisited. No
Yeah,
problem.
because I mean, especially if they're going to use it as a revenue generator,
Yes,
it would make sense for them to
Yeah.
make the recommendation to us and spend the time.
absolutely.
So,
Very good. Thank you very much.
I think we almost skipped that one.
Next item is to approve the purchase of a new dial ride vehicle. Mickey's here this evening. Mickey, welcome, and thank you for being here. We have been waiting for some federal transportation money to purchase a new vehicle. If you recall, we had conversations in our budget process where we felt confident we would have some grant opportunities. Well, we have not had any grant opportunities, and the dial ride bus is getting older, and we have identified and reviewed the state contracts and also the cost of the vehicle, and the cost is $52,887. We do have the blessing of having a number of separate accounts which benefit the Social Service Department in the town of Simsbury, and Mickey has looked over the balances of those accounts, and we've reviewed the purposes and reviewed the timing, and felt very comfortable that the town could purchase the vehicle off a state bid with the resources that we have within our funds. We also are pleased to report that we are selling dial ride passes, and we have generated a fair amount of revenue from that, and folks are very pleased to be able to contribute. And again, folks who can't contribute don't. It's a voluntary $25 a year, and folks have been very generous in using unlimited use of dial ride for the year for $25. So what we have before you tonight is a recommendation to purchase a new vehicle per the request of the Social Service Director. Mickey, do you want to add anything?
Well, only that we're desperate at this point for a new bus. We have a 2006 bus that's got 165,000 miles on it, and everything is going on it. And even when ordering this bus, it's going to take 3 months to get. And if we order it before December 31st, we'll get an $8,000 savings by using the state contract. They put it out to bid, so we're able to get that savings.
Any
How
other
many
questions?
people does it?
I'm sorry. Questions, yeah.
so definitely seems worthwhile. Just a question on the finances, of course. On the front, it says the money's going to come from the Darling Trust. On the back, it says there's a bequest from Mary Nichols for $86,000. Not quite sure what the two have to do with each other.
That was just kind of giving you some facts. We'll use, I've asked the trustees of the Darling Fund if we could use $20,000 of that fund to put towards this. And the rest of it, the $32,800, we'd use from the dial ride revenue fund. And I was just giving you some facts that, we have received a bequest of $86,000. We currently have a balance in that dial ride revenue account of $97,000.
Okay. So in the event that the Darling trustees say no, are we prepared to pull it all from the revenue account?
We are, but I got a call this morning from Jeff Dale, and he said it's a go.
Okay.
We contacted the trustees before we pursued it.
Yeah.
So we, if it wasn't an option, we were perfectly willing to look at other alternatives, but they're comfortable with it. Other questions? Can I have a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Get that contract in before December 31st. The
Happy
next
holidays.
item is to approve the waiver of the standard Eno Memorial use fees and allow the Simsbury Light Opera Company to use Eno for 10 rehearsals and 4 performances between January and March. They will pay for the custodial use, and will make sure that they work with Tom Roy to accommodate any other concerns that Tom has. They have indicated a strong interest in coming back to Eno. They used to conduct all their performances at Eno, and it's a great venue for a wonderful arts program and great performances. Unfortunately, the cost of renting Eno is exorbitant for a nonprofit and for a theater group such as Simsbury Light Opera. So we felt it would be fair to charge the custodial, so there's no cost to the taxpayers, but the Board of Selectmen would need to waive the additional fees. Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is to allow the First Selectman to sign a master municipal agreement for the construction projects of the state of Connecticut. This is for local projects receiving DOT funding. This will not obligate the town to any particular project or any particular accounts. However, the Capital Region Council of Governments, which Simsbury is very active in and which I'm very fortunate to chair, decided that we could save a lot of time and a lot of money by having one master municipal agreement, which could be reviewed by council and reviewed by the Department of Transportation. And then we would not have to incorporate all those other documents in whatever projects that we have with the state of Connecticut. As Rich is here this evening, and Rich can attest to every time the town has a project with the state, we have to go through all of these reviews, and then it has to go to the Attorney General's office, and it takes a lot of time. And by the Capital Region Council of Governments coordinating the master municipal agreements and the obligations of towns, we'll be ready to go once funding is available. We'll save a lot of time, a lot of paperwork, and a lot of review. Any questions? This has been reviewed by Rich, by town attorney, and is recommended for you tonight.
Make that motion.
Rich, did you want to add anything?
I think you covered it all. It is a very desirable way to streamline the process. Specific project agreements now will be basically 4 pages or so. And in the past, while a lot of the language in this master document were very similar, there were always slight changes, and therefore that would trigger a full review, which would take months. So that'll eliminate that whole process. Basically, what's in here are all the provisions under the federal guidelines for equal opportunity, non-discrimination, ethics clauses, consultant service selection. So all of those formats and regulations have been standardized and basically put into a standard format, which hopefully will stand up for 10 years.
Just a quick question. Do we still have the ability to amend an agreement and go through the approval process if needed for a special circumstance?
The amendments would occur in the specific project document.
Right.
Okay.
But they're really, quite honestly, since these are federal Department of Transportation pass-throughs, there's not many opportunities to change their documents.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we still have some flexibility. All right.
Can I have a motion to approve?
You did.
Oh, second? Second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Just 2 quick updates. One, town of Simsbury was visited by OSHA inspectors, and I want to thank our town staff. They did a great job. I'm pleased to report there were no safety violations found, and that is the purpose of OSHA, is to make sure that our workers are safe and that the town takes our responsibilities under OSHA very seriously. We did work with OSHA to find that there were a number of minor violations that were found. We're in the process. We did go to OSHA to meet with them. We're in the process of finalizing that report. I did want to update the board, and we will present you with a department by department itemized finding. There will be a fine for the Public Works Department and the Parks and Recreation Department. There was some, I think the fines are less than about $1,000 or $1,500 each department. We'll give you an itemized list. We have some work to do. I think there's some training that we identified in our Parks and Rec maintenance facilities and also in Public Works, and we'll be getting a full report for that, but I did want to update the board on that. In addition, Tom Roy for our next meeting has included in your packet, it's not on the agenda, but I'll just report that we do have a draft of a barricade policy with the number of requests for barricades and use of town staff. We have been looking at ways of allowing folks to use the barricades, however, because of the tremendous amount of work that goes into town staff dropping them off, there were some crew costs. So we've shared those signs and barricades. Last year, there were about more than 500 signs and barricades put up because of events, and it cost the town about $4,000 in crew time to do that. So it's not on our agenda tonight, but there is a policy that Tom Roy has included and made public, and certainly is available to the public and will be on our next agenda.
You can put signs on them and
Banners.
sell them. Banners, logos. You can hang logos on them.
We can, as long as it's not commercial use. We can do it. Ready? Yes.
I hate to be finicky about this, but on this master agreement,
There's a resolution.
with your letter, there was a resolution.
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
I did
And
see
of course,
that.
we're talking state and federal DOT, so this is how the resolution has to be.
Yes, we haven't moved on to the agenda other than updates, so if I could have a motion to read the resolution to the record. Thank you, Rich. Would someone like to move that and read it into the record?
I think more one.
Lisa made the motion. Resolved that Mary A. Glassman, First Selectman, is hereby authorized to sign the agreement entitled Master Municipal Agreement for Construction Projects, adopted by the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Simsbury, Connecticut, this 25th day of November, 2013.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you, Rich. You're happy? We're happy. Next item is appointments and resignations. Pleased to announce that we have hired Michael Glidden as the Code Enforcement Officer, and ask for a motion to appoint Mr. Glidden as the Code Enforcement Officer and appoint Howard Beach as the Assistant Code Enforcement Officer, effective as today. Michael comes to us very well experienced and has hit the ground running. He's going to do a great job for the town, and he's also very familiar with blight ordinances. He will be meeting with town attorney as well as town staff to make sure that the town follows all of the rules and regulations. We actually have gone through a training process to expedite how we enforce zoning complaints. He has been a zoning official in Waterford. He has been a zoning assistant in West Hartford. He has been an assistant greenskeeper. He has a number of certifications and comes to us with very well referenced as well. So we're pleased to have Mr. Glynn join us, and we're looking forward to his hard work on behalf of the people of Simsbury. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next appointment is Marguerite Rodney to fill the remainder of the term of Ken Fader as a regular member of the Historic District Commission. Again, I just want to thank Marguerite Rodney for serving. She also is well qualified and will bring a lot of experience to the board, to the commission. I also want to thank Ken Fader. He has served the town very well and has done a great job for us, and we're sorry that he's no longer serving. Can I have a motion to approve?
Move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like now a motion to accept the resignation of Elizabeth Banco from the Tourism Committee with our thanks. Liz has done a great job and just recently completed the farm brochure, which is a great business for our community. And Liz will be moving to the city of Hartford, and I'm sure the city of Hartford will enjoy having Liz in the city. Can I have a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next motion is to accept the resignation of Kevin Crimmins from the Economic Development Commission with our thanks. Kevin has a very busy schedule and can no longer serve, and we're sorry to see him go.
Move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is to accept the resignation of Harvey Goodfriend from the Building Code Board of Appeals and also from the Police Commission. Harvey has moved out of Simsbury, so we want to wish him well, and we're sorry that he will no longer be serving in that capacity. Can I have a motion?
Move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item is to accept the resignation of Robert Kulikowski as an alternate on the Planning Commission, effective December 2nd.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is to accept the resignation of Derek Peterson as an alternate member of the Zoning Commission, effective well, effective as of today with our thanks for service. Can I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the public hearing minutes of November 13th. Can I have a motion?
Move that.
Is there a second? Corrections, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
2 abstentions. Thank you. Next item is approval of the regular meeting minutes for November 13th.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any corrections, changes? All in favor?
I just did,
Oh.
sorry, on page 2, it says Mrs. Glassman introduced Scott, and it's Kuhnly.
Thank you. Any other corrections, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed? Any abstentions? 2 abstentions. Thank you. Personnel, any reports?
Yes. We had a meeting today at 12:30 for the Personnel Subcommittee, in which we discussed the creation of a temporary part-time position of Engineering Transition Manager, and we approved the attached job description for the position for review by the Board of Selectmen. We also met and approved compensation equivalent to a yearly salary of $90,000 for Sean Kimball during the period of his service as interim finance director. I'll start with the temporary part-time position of Engineering Transition Manager, and this was done as Rich, who I'm still mad at, is retiring. And this will help with the transition. It's a maximum of, I think, 9 days a week. 9 days a month, in order to smooth.
That's what he works now.
And that will help ensure a smooth transition for a new town engineer and keep things running smoothly as we transition.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I know the town joins me in thanking Rich for his more than 30 years of service. Rich. Well, it's hard to see Rich go. We wish him well in his new adventures. We had a wonderful celebration and send-off for Rich, and he was hired by Peggy Shanks. The minutes show that he was hired by Russ Shaw, but Peggy and Rich corrected me. But he was hired by Peggy, and he was there's nothing, no project and no road or building in town that Rich hasn't touched in some way, and has had a tremendous impact on the town. And we had a wonderful send-off celebration for Rich, but we're thrilled that he's able to share his experience and expertise as we move forward in filling that position. We did begin to fill the position once Rich officially sent in this letter. I think he had a hard time deciding and making that big decision. So the town did begin to advertise immediately when we were officially notified. We have some excellent candidates. Rich will stay on and help us interview and help with the selection of his successor. So, Rich, we're grateful for that as well. And I know it's a great opportunity for Rich and his family to celebrate and enjoy some free time. And we only wish you the very best. Can I have a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I was going to say, can we sneak in some grant writing in here?
We've already talked about
All
it.
right, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. The next item is to approve the appointment.
We have one more to go.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Approve the compensation equivalent to a yearly salary.
Yes, it's road going.
Oh, okay.
Second item on the personnel.
Okay. This was unanimously recommended by the Personnel Subcommittee. I want to thank Sean for his willingness to step forward as we go through this transition period. This salary is within the range and is lower than the last time we had a transition staff during our last transition with the Board of Finance. Director of Finance.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Sean. Sean's worked very closely with Mary Ann, so it's a logical interim step, and we're grateful that Sean's taken on these duties. We were able to work with CCM and some other organizations to find a temporary staff person to help with the human resource function at the time that Sean would be performing the budget duties. So we're grateful that we'll be doing that as well. And then Sean can concentrate all his all his energies on getting our budget ready for the next Board of Selectmen to review. So Sean comes very well prepared for this job. He has a master's. He's worked in the budget process. He has had a lot of familiarity with budgets. He does a great job for us, and we're grateful that he's taken on these responsibilities. Other questions?
Just a quick one. So during the interim period, does that mean that upon hiring a finance director, this agreement terminates, or how's that going to work? Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay.
Any other questions?
We did ask during the meeting just for a general timeline of what they're looking at, and just to answer Sean's question, and it looks like somewhere toward the mid to the end of January.
Yes. We're going to move very quickly in screening and moving forward. But we don't, obviously, we need to protect the town in the meantime. There needs to be signatures.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I appreciate the board in authorizing that. The fact that Sean has worked with town staff, he's very well-versed, and we can get out the budget paperwork and documents, and we won't miss any time that the staff can start to begin working on their budgets. I think it's going to be a tough budget year, so we don't want to miss any timetables, and want to make sure that we get all of that documentation out to the staff as quickly as possible, and Sean will be able to do that for us. Now I've completely forgotten whether we have a motion on the table. I don't believe we have. I don't think so.
Yes, we did. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
There you go.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good luck. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Any other subcommittee reports? If not, I just need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'll make that.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I changed my mind. So my phone was